The Ballad of Meatball. An introduction, Meatball. It's not the kind of name you forget. He hadn't been born with it, of course. His birth certificate, currently gathering dust in some forgotten drawer, probably read something boring like Michael or Mark, but nobody called him that anymore. Not after the Great Spaghetti Incident of 23. It was at a company picnic. He'd been a go-getter then, climbing the corporate ladder, sporting neatly combed hair and iron khakis. Then came the three-legged race. Then came the giant pot of spaghetti. Then came the tumble, the splash, the laughter, and the nickname that stuck like marinara to a white t-shirt. Meatball. He hated it at first. Now, it was a badge of honor. A symbol of his transformation from a suit-and-tie drone into the guy who spent his days in a haze of bong smoke and video game explosions. Meatball surveyed his domain with a grunt. Yeah, he was living the dream. Or at least, his dream. The smoke curled through the air, forming intricate patterns that danced before Meatball's bloodshot eyes. He took another drag, savoring the familiar burn in his lungs. His bong, lovingly nicknamed the Leviathan, was his constant companion. It was there for him after a long day of virtual warfare. There for him when the crushing weight of his own existence became too much to bear. Because beneath the gruff exterior, beneath the layers of irony and self-deprecation, Meatball was a broken man. He'd tasted victory, tasted glory. And then, he'd had it ripped away from him by King Roy. The name sent a shiver down his spine even now. King Roy, the undefeated champion of Fallout 76, the ruler of the Wasteland, the bane of Meatball's existence. One day, he muttered, blowing a smoke ring towards the ceiling. One day, Roy, you'll pay. The familiar blue glow of the Pip-Boy illuminated Meatball's face as he navigated the irradiated wasteland of Fallout 76. This was his escape, his sanctuary, his personal playground. Here, he could be anyone he wanted to be, a hero, a villain, a god among insects, raining down fiery nuclear destruction upon his enemies. Time to nuke some noobs, he cackled, launching a mini nuke at an unsuspecting group of players. The resulting explosion sent shockwaves across the server, wiping out everything in its path. Meatball reveled in the chaos, the destruction, the sheer power at his fingertips. But even as he watched the mushroom cloud rise in the distance, a part of him felt empty, unsatisfied. He needed more than just virtual victories, he needed real revenge. The memories haunted him, the final battle, the crushing defeat, the humiliation of being outplayed, outsmarted, outgunned. King Roy had crushed him, leaving him a broken shell of a gamer in the virtual dust. He tried to distract himself. Watched anime until his eyes bled. Ordered enough takeout to feed a small country. Nothing worked. The memory of King Roy's smug grin lingered like a bad smell. Meatball needed a plan. A foolproof, epic, utterly humiliating plan to exact his revenge. He would show King Roy what it meant to mess with the Meatball. Section 5. Revenge, a dish best served. Poorly? The whiteboard was covered in scribbles, diagrams, flowcharts, and the occasional splatter of what he hoped was pizza sauce. Meatball paced back and forth, muttering to himself, "Okay, so I need to lure him into a trap. But how? And with what? A giant robotic deathclaw? Nah, too expensive. A train pack of rad roaches? Too messy. He chewed on a pencil, deep in thought. The ideas came in a torrent, each more ridiculous than the last. He envisioned himself challenging King Roy to a dance-off, only to break out into a surprise karate attack. He pictured releasing a swarm of bees into King Roy's gaming room, only to realize he didn't know where King Roy lived. Every plan seemed to crumble under its own weight, leaving Meatball more frustrated than ever. Revenge, it seemed, was proving to be a dish best served. Not at all. At least not yet. He needed a new strategy, a new angle. Section 6. Temu Troubles, Meatball's Gadget Mishap. Meatball scrolled through Temu, his eyes glazed over with a mixture of desperation and boredom. There had to be something on here, some gadget or gizmo that could give him an edge in his quest for vengeance. And then he saw it, the Ultimate Gamer Revenge Pack. The picture showed a gleaming device that promised to hack into any gaming system and unleash digital chaos. The reviews were a mixed bag of glowing praise and warnings about exploding batteries, but Meatball wasn't deterred. This was it. This was his ticket to victory. He clicked buy now without hesitation. A week later, the package arrived. Meatball tore it open with the eagerness of a child on Christmas morning, only to be greeted by a jumble of wires, loose screws, and a single, poorly translated instruction manual. "What the?" he muttered, scratching his head. "This looks like it was assembled by a blindfolded chimpanzee." The next few hours were a blur of frustration, muttered curses, and the distinct smell of burning electronics. Meatball's dreams of digital domination seemed to be going up in smoke. Literally. Section 7. Seeking Answers in Appalachia. The hunt for King Roy begins. Frustrated with his Temu misadventure, Meatball decided on a new approach. Find King Roy in the game itself. He'd heard whispers of a legendary player named Dixie, who knew the ins and outs of Appalachia like the back of her hand. He donned his headset, grabbed his trusty controller, and dove back into the irradiated wasteland. He spent hours scouring the map, following rumors and chasing shadows. He fought off hordes of mutated creatures, scavenged for supplies in abandoned buildings, and even braved the horrors of the cranberry bog, a truly harrowing experience that he wouldn't soon forget. Finally, after days of searching, he found her. Dixie, or at least that's what the crudely painted sign outside the dilapidated shack proclaimed. Section 8. Dixie's Deal. A mask for a location. Dixie was an experience. Clad in mismatched power armor and sporting a mohawk that would make a Deathclaw proud, she was the very picture of a Wasteland warrior. She eyed Meatball with suspicion, her hand hovering near the shotgun strapped to her back. "You're looking for King Roy, ain't ya?" she rasped, her voice rough like sandpaper. "Lots of folks are. He's bad news, that one. But maybe I can help." She took a drag from a cigarette that appeared to be older than time itself. "I know where he hangs his hat, but information ain't free in Appalachia." She held up a hand, her eyes gleaming. "Bring me a Deathclaw mask and I'll tell you everything you need to know." Meatball gulped. A Deathclaw mask? Those things were rarer than a sober Irishman on St. Patrick's Day. This was going to be fun. Section 9. The Final Showdown. A King Awaits. Dixie, true to her word, or as true as a Wasteland warlord could be, provided a location. It wasn't exact, more of a vague direction and a cryptic riddle. It was enough. "West of the White Spring, where the fog never lifts," Meatball muttered, consulting a tattered map he'd scavenged. "And look for the shadow of a giant." He trailed off, a surge of adrenaline coursing through him. This was it, the moment of truth. He geared up. Power armor gleamed under the dim light of his basement. Weapons were checked and double-checked. He was a one-man army fueled by vengeance and stale pizza. The journey was long, fraught with danger. But Meatball persevered, driven by the burning desire to confront his nemesis. And then he saw it. A fortress, carved into the side of a mountain, surrounded by automated turrets and patrolled by heavily armed guards. This was no ordinary hideout. This was a king's lair. Meatball took a deep breath, his hand hovering over the door controls. He could hear the faint sound of voices echoing from within, punctuated by the rhythmic clacking of keyboards. "King Roy," he whispered, a steely glint in his eye. "Get ready to meet your doom." To be continued. Subscribe for the epic conclusion of Meatball's quest for revenge.